Welcome. As chair of the Michigan Women's Commission, we want to welcome you to this very important webinar. What is the Michigan Women's Commission? The commission was established by statute in 1968. We have 15 members appointed by the governor to serve 3-year terms. Our duties include surveying the women of Michigan, identifying the challenges they face, and recommending policies to address these challenges. We are staffed by 2 full-time state of Michigan employees, Chief Executive Officer Cheryl Bergman and Chief Strategy Officer Shannon Garrett, along with the next generation of leaders who join us as volunteers, interns, or AmeriCorps Vistas. The Women's Commission was formerly housed in the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, but because much of our current work centers on women's economic security issues, Governor Gretchen Whitmer moved the commission into the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity in 2020. This way, we're better positioned to spotlight the needs of women in the workforce and to partner with colleagues on economic empowerment initiatives while still maintaining our relationships to bolster civil rights and equity issues. You know, I'm very excited about this conversation that we're going to have. Before we start, let me mention a few housekeeping things. One, the topics covered in the webinar can be triggering. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the Michigan Women's Commission YouTube channel for future reference. There is an ALS interpreter on the screen. There are live captions available. And please save all of your questions until the end. And to ask a question, please use the Q&A button on the bottom left of the page. So what is domestic violence? It's the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and/or other abusive behavior as part of a systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, threats, and emotional abuse. The frequency and severity of domestic violence can vary dramatically. 1 in 3 women in the United States have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 36% of Michigan women experience intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner rape, and/or intimate partner stalking in their lives. Michigan domestic violence programs provide services to over 3,000 adult and child survivors. Another 376 requests for services went unmet due to a lack of resources. But let's talk about solutions. We're extremely grateful and indebted to the Attorney General and her office for this life-saving program we're going to talk about today. She and her office have worked hard for the last 2 years to enhance systems to protect survivors' privacy. Helping survivors of gender-based violence and other crimes included in the new ACP program. And if you don't know what ACP stands for, we're going to tell you in just a moment. But helping survivors of gender-based violence and other crimes is personal for our Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel. Attorney General Nessel began her legal career prosecuting sexual violence criminal cases, among other crimes, for the Wayne prosecutor's office in the 1990s. And she said her heart would break at that time for the lack of protections and resources for survivors. Two survivors, Nicole Beverly and Jane O'Shea, shared their domestic violence experience from their ex-partners, both of which couldn't have been avoided if there was an, here we go, ACP, Address Confidentiality Program. Addresses are accessible on public documents like voter registration, which were used against Beverly and O'Shea. Nessel understands that a person's life is intertwined with the government, from registering to vote to enrolling a child in school. The Attorney General hopes this program will be one tool in the state's toolbox to protect survivors. The legislative process began in 2014, and lawmakers used Beverly's and O'Shea's testimonies for bills to create the ACP. The governor signed legislation to create the program in 2020 to be implemented in September 2023. The program, housed within the Attorney General's office, was created with the Department of State, as well as the Department of Technology, Management, and Budget. The Attorney General has been traveling around the state leading up to the launch of the ACP to talk with groups that serve survivors about the program. Michigan is the 41st state to implement an Address Confidentiality Program, and about 150 victim advocates at different organizations across the state have already been trained by the Attorney General's office to help with applications. It is my pleasure now to introduce to you our Attorney General, Dana Nessel.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Dr. Williams, and thank you all for having me here today. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this year, as you've said, survivors living in Michigan have more support than ever before. So in September 2023, my office officially launched the Address Confidentiality Program, or the ACP. And the new initiative, as you indicated, was signed into law in 2020. And this is a tool to protect the privacy of crime victims by providing an alternative address for them to use in reference to all their public records. So the ACP was created to conceal the addresses of victims of stalking, domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and of individuals at risk of being threatened or physically harmed from being located by their perpetrators through public records. So participants have their mail, letters, not packages, forwarded and are there provided with an ID card with a substitute address to proffer for public agencies, employers, and schools. Participants must do the following. They must be moving or planning to move, be 18 years or older, an emancipated minor, or the parent or guardian acting on behalf of a minor or a ward in order to participate. And I brought along with me, who I hope is participating on here, Assistant our project coordinator, Karen Hall, who's overseeing the ACP. Now, she'll be able to give more details and insights into the application process in just a minute, but before I turn it over to her, let me give you a brief overview of what participation in the ACP will look like for survivors. Enrollment in the ACP is just really one aspect of a survivor's safety plan. Participation is a significant undertaking, and it has to be treated very seriously. So there are particular instructions provided upon enrollment in the program, guiding participants on how they should interact with government institutions, schools, law enforcement, and more. Participants have to carefully monitor their digital footprint so as not to undermine the efficacy of this program. And it requires participants to move because any trace of a previous address in voter records or any other records just cannot be undone. It's already out there. Because of the complicated enrollment process and extensive instructions for successful participation, interested individuals are advised to meet with a certified applicant assistant or victim advocate who can explain the program and assist with the ACP application process. Residents can locate a certified applicant assistant in their area by visiting michigan.gov/AGACP. There's a built-in search engine that will direct applicants to their local advocates, including information about foreign language proficiency and a phone number so that they can be contacted. No resident should be discouraged from registering to vote, sending their child to school, or applying for government assistance simply because they were targeted by an abuser. Now, the ACP cannot provide a guarantee of safety, but it does provide assurance for survivors that their government will not be the means by which their abuser tracks them down to perpetuate further harm against them or their families. These programs aren't really worth anything if the public isn't made aware of their existence. So, of course, I thank all of you for being here today to learn about the ACP. And please continue to spread the word throughout all your networks. You never know who may need to hear about it. I will tell you, I spent the summer traveling all around the state, visiting domestic violence shelters and child advocacy centers to answer questions about the ACP from local advocates and to encourage their staff to become certified applicant assistants. And I encourage qualified applicants to sign up for the training and become applicant assistants themselves. Domestic violence knows no demographic bounds, and we need to be prepared with resources at the ready to accommodate survivors in every corner of the state. So thank you for your commitment to promoting the safety and well-being of all our state residents, and know that you have a partner in the Michigan Department of Attorney General should you ever need to reach out.
Thank you so much, Attorney General. I see that Ms. Hall is with us, Karen Hall. Would you please join the conversation? How are you?
I am well.
Good.
Hopefully everyone is doing well this afternoon.
Yes. Please, we'd love to hear from you on some remarks about the program. Help us dive even a little deeper into it.
Yeah, sure. So the AG talked a lot about how applicants enroll in a program. And I really want to stress the importance of the application assistants and their role, their involvement in this process. Our application assistants and victim advocates are a critical piece in the ACP program. They are trauma-informed and victim-centered, so they're able to support victims when they walk into their doors, or if they're meeting with them on the phone, they're able to meet them where they need, where they are, and really provide that additional support, as well as any resources that that applicant may need besides ACP. And then it's really important that ACP is part of an overall safety plan. So the application assistants and the victim advocates are able to assist that applicant in creating that safety plan, where ACP is just a part of it.
Thank you very much for that. Now we have some questions coming in. Are you ready for questions, or was there any other comments that Attorney General you would like to share with us, or Ms. Hall? Or are we ready to dive into some questions?
Yeah, let's dive right in.
Okay, all right. We have a question about how will we know, how will you know if someone filing a claim is enrolled in ACP? How many people have enrolled, and what is the estimated turnaround time for the ACP enrollee to receive their mail? There were several questions.
Right, that's a lot of questions.
Well, there's a lot of interest. So
right.
We can take them one. One is, what's the turnaround time for the ACP enrollee to receive their mail?
And usually we're saying between 3 to 5 days. So of course, it depends on where that individual's confidential address is at, because right now our designated address is located in Diamonddale, which is right outside of Lansing. So of course, if a person lives in a UP, it may take a little bit longer for them to get their mail opposed to someone that lives in the Lansing area.
Mhm.
So we're estimating around 3 to 5 days
Okay.
for that mail delay.
And how many people are enrolled in the program now?
Currently, we have 17
Mhm.
applicants along with 11 family members.
That's good because you just started in September, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh yeah, they're rolling in.
Yes. Now, another question, that was from Marilyn Owen. And I see this other question here. How will we know a customer filing a claim is enrolled in ACP? And I think she's saying she's from or asking from the perspective of the Unemployment Insurance Agency. And how will that agency know that a person is enrolled in ACP, or will they, or should they?
Right. So whenever an applicant seeks services with a public agency, they have to present their ACP card if they want that agency to use that designated address. So that's the key. They have to request it. So if they never say anything, then that agency is not going to know, but they should be presenting their ACP participation card as well as making that request.
Okay. All right. We have a couple of other questions. One is, are local shelters also trained in assisting in the applications?
Yes, so we've trained well over 300 application assistants and victim advocates across the state. So that includes nonprofit victim service organizations, as well as victim advocates and local prosecutors' offices.
So in other words, the places where victims would likely go, you've trained many of those places.
Correct. And then we also have on our website, so every month we're going to be offering trainings. So if individuals are interested in becoming a certified application assistant or victim advocate, they can always visit our website, and it's up under the victim advocate / application assistant tab. And we have our trainings that are listed there for the remainder of the year.
Yeah. And Dr. Williams, if I can
Yes.
chime in, being that I've been to so many domestic violence shelters around the state, this, I think we're getting a steady increase, but there are some places I go and I'll say, who here is certified, who here has taken this, it's about a 2-hour course online. And there are some times where there's nobody who is from that particular facility that has gone through the training. It's very, very important that we get as many trainees here as possible, so that when a person expresses an interest in this, they're not dissuaded because there's no one to take their call. And so we want to get as many people as possible who are working in this space to make sure that they're certified in order to enroll people into the program.
Great, great. And can someone go to the website to enroll in the program as well? I know you can go to your website to apply to be a trainer or get training. Can you enroll in the program through your website as well?
Well, it has to be done through somebody who's certified. And that's,
okay.
you go to the website, you can type in your city that you live in, or your zip code, and you will get an array of people who can assist you with their phone numbers. But the thing is, we don't want to have people who are seeking to become participants in this program do it themselves. It is complicated to navigate. And if you do it wrong, you could be exposing yourself in a way that you're not fully protecting yourself. And so we want to make sure that it's done right instead of being done as quickly as possible, right? And so that's why we want people who are especially trained in this to be assisting people who want to enroll in the program.
Right. That's a very important clarification and very important aspect of the program. So for, anyone who wants to, needs to enroll, they need to go to a place to have someone help them do that so that it's done right. And that's why the emphasis on the training across the state, right? Great. Okay, we have this question now. Are courts exempt from using the new address provided by the ACP? Some survivors have been told that courts are exempt and that survivors will have to continue using the court's version of confidential address procedures. And then this question goes on to say, unfortunately, court confidential addresses don't always work, and addresses have been shared in open court or with opposing attorneys. Will ACP help with this?
Karen, you want to take that?
I will try. So right now, the courts are exempt from ACP. However, we would hope that the courts would be concerned about a participant's safety and understanding that if a program participant mentions that they are part of this program, that the courts would do whatever they needed to do to keep that individual safe. Now, I do know that there are some court rules, and I don't have them in front of me, that talks about what the court must do as far as there's certain personal identifying information that is exempt, not exempt, that the courts can remove off of those records. And the court can also make the participants or the victim's address and other identifying information, they can keep that off the court records. And that is a court rule. I'm not quite, again, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you what the court rule is right now. So the court administration sent out information regarding our program to all the courts across the state to let them know about the program and to also remind them of the court rules and that how they can keep the victims, I keep saying participant, but it's the victims' information out of those court records. Mm-hmm. So again, we would hope that the court would want to ensure the safety of victims as well as our participants and keep their information out of those court records and not allowing the victim or not requesting that victim speak or provide their address during court proceedings.
Okay. All right. Now, what about voter registration? Some of the questions come from victims where their abusers found their new addresses through voter registration. Can you talk again about how the ACP will handle that? And will the ACP change a victim's voter registration in any way?
Yes, so with the ACP, when a participant enrolls in the program, if they have a valid voter registration, their voter registration will be automatically updated through the Secretary of State with their polling location. It doesn't put their confidential address on that voter registration, just their polling location. So that's one way that if an offender is looking, they won't be able to find their information. Also, the participant's information is exempt from FOIA requests, as well as the information will not be part of the qualified voter records. So if anybody's looking for that participant's information, they will not be able to find it because it will not be publicly available.
Okay.
Dr. Williams, if I can speak to something on a related topic for just a minute.
Please.
So we have, there were some questions about court records. Very, very important for people to know. I think just as important is for us to have a conversation about how a couple of, I think, misinformed court opinions over the course of the past few years have really changed how things work as it pertains to the providing of discovery documents in criminal cases. Time was, decade after decade after decade, that automatically a victim and a witness's personal information would be automatically redacted from those documents before it was turned over through the discovery process, whether you're talking about police reports or witness statements or any other kind of materials that are involved in the discovery process. Prior to it being turned over to defense counsel and to the defendant, you'd have that information automatically redacted. It would be shared, of course, by the prosecution in the event that it was sort of the res gestae of the case, meaning let's say that a victim's phone number was a critical part of the case. Maybe it's a stalking case and you have to show, that the defendant called the victim on multiple occasions. Well, of course, you're going to need the phone records, or of course, you have to, indicate what the victim's phone number actually is. But if it's not the res gestae of the case, that information was redacted. That is no longer true because of these recent court rulings. And so there are a couple of bills that are pending in the legislature right now that supported by my department, supported by really all of those in law enforcement, that would require the redaction of this type of information unless or until there is an order by the court that involves a protective order, so that in the event that that information is turned over, first of all, it's required, it's needed to be turned over because it's part of the case and part of the due process rights of the defendant, but also that it not be just automatically turned over to the defendant in a way that could be harmful to a victim or witness. And we call them the Starkeisha Thompson bills because there was a young woman who was unfortunately a carjacking victim. Her address was not known to her assailant, but her address was provided during the discovery portion of the case, and it allowed the defendant, who was incarcerated at the time, to provide that information to some cohorts of his who ultimately murdered Starkeisha. And so it is incredibly important for the criminal justice system to work properly in order to protect survivors, to protect witnesses, that these laws pass. And I really strongly encourage anybody who is on here right now to talk to their state representative, to talk to their state senator, and to say that they badly want to see these bills passed. They are crucial, they are important, and the last thing we need to be doing is re-victimizing people who are already crime victims.
Thank you for helping us to see that there are definitely related issues that pop up, that are there, that are very, very key. And that for the issue about finding a victim through their address, this is a solution and this is a program, and we're so happy to hear about it. Let me ask this last question. Will applying for the ACP affect my children or my family? And if yes, how so? Karen, you want to help us with that?
Yeah, and when you say affect, what do you mean?
Well, this is the question answered. I guess it would be if there's any way there's a negative or positive impact on children or family if a victim enrolls in ACP.
Well, of course, the positive impact is that their information is not publicly available, that not only the participant, but the family can maintain that confidentiality and stay safe.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
One thing I will say is that everyone over 18 must complete their own application. So that's one thing that's really important. So even though the wife fills out an application, the husband will also have to complete an application as well. The children come as a tag along, but everyone over the age of 18 must complete their own application. And I just want to say that this program is something that's needed in Michigan. Of course, we have other ACP programs across the country that are protecting and supporting crime victims. And I'm so glad that we have it now here in Michigan and that we're up and running and that we're able to support as many people that need this program.
Thank you so much. And we're about to close out. This has been such an extraordinary great information hearing about this very important program. Attorney General, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Yeah, well, firstly, I want to thank you so much for hosting this program to get the word out. You know, there are so many great programs that the state of Michigan has to assist, victims and survivors of violent crimes, but none of them matter if people don't know about them. I mean, honestly, we could be doing all the work in the world, but if you don't know about it, this program is not going to help you. So we really encourage people who are advocates for the survivor community to get out there and talk about it as broadly as possible, as much as possible, so that people know about it and can participate in this program. It is literally a life-saving program for so many people. And that's what I look forward to, is seeing the lives that are positively affected by this, and people who feel like they at long last have an opportunity to truly move on with their lives, and you don't have to worry each and every day about, just merely participating in any way, shape, or form with their government will somehow expose them and their location to their assailant or their abuser. And so I'm excited that this program is kicked off. I hope it helps as many people as possible.
And we're excited too. And on behalf of the Michigan Women's Commission, we want to thank you for your leadership with this very important program. And we want you to know that this webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, the Michigan Women's Commission. So again, we can help in the efforts to make sure that people find out about this program, because as you said, if people don't know, they won't apply. They won't know how to protect themselves in this way. So again, Attorney General, we appreciate you for your leadership, and we want to say thank you to all of you who've joined us, and have a great day.